Welcome to Living Peacefully. Dear friends, today we will reflect on a simple yet profound statement. Life is short. Therefore, give your love to those who truly deserve it. Regardless of its length, life is incredibly precious and never returns. We cannot change the past, nor can we predict the future. Therefore, the only thing we can truly control is the time we are living in. This statement serves as a reminder of the impermanence of time and, more importantly, the importance of choosing wisely whom we love and where we invest our emotions. From a Buddhist perspective, how should we understand this statement? Let's explore this in the next part of our lecture. Impermanence and the value of time in Buddhism. Dear friends, life, for each of us, is a journey filled with emotions, changes, and experiences. The fleeting moments pass by like a river that never ceases to flow, carrying us through different stages of existence. Yet, whether we want it or not, time continues to move forward, never waiting for anyone, never turning back. But do we truly understand the value of these precious moments in our lives? Are we living mindfully, appreciating each moment as it comes? One of the fundamental teachings in Buddhism is the doctrine of impermanence, anicca, which the Buddha imparted to help us understand the true nature of existence. Impermanence is not just a theoretical concept, it is a profound reality that allows us to perceive the ever-changing nature of everything, both the external world and our inner emotions and thoughts. Recognizing impermanence helps us appreciate the true value of time, something we often take for granted yet is, in fact, the most precious gift in this fleeting existence. In today's lecture, we will explore and deeply analyze the Buddhist teaching of impermanence and its relationship with the value of time. Together, we will reflect on how this understanding can help us live more fully, cherish the present, and appreciate those around us. Impermanence, the truth of constant change. When we speak of impermanence, we are referring to the continuous transformation of all things, both material and immaterial. The Buddha declared in the scriptures, "All things are subject to change, nothing lasts forever." This truth applies not only to external phenomena but also to our own bodies, minds, and emotions. Everything in this world, whether physical or mental, is governed by the law of impermanence. We live in a world that is in a constant state of flux. Everything around us, trees, mountains, oceans, undergoes cycles of birth, existence, decay, and dissolution. The homes we build, the relationships we form, none of them are permanent. Even the things we cherish the most, the plans we make, and the dreams we pursue cannot escape the inevitability of change. No matter how much we try to hold onto them, nothing remains forever. Our own bodies as proof of impermanence. If we look at our own bodies, we can clearly see the presence of impermanence. From the moment we are born, our bodies undergo continuous change. Cells regenerate and decay, skin ages, and internal organs gradually weaken over time. The Buddha once said, "This body is like a cart that, over time, wears out and deteriorates." This realization forces us to confront an undeniable truth: aging and physical suffering are inevitable. However, when we deeply understand impermanence, we can face aging, illness, and even death without fear or despair. Instead of clinging to the body as something lasting, we learn to embrace its temporary nature and seek liberation for the mind. The mind and emotions are also governed by impermanence. Beyond the body, our thoughts and emotions are also in a constant state of change. Our moods shift rapidly. In one moment, we may feel joy and optimism, but in the next, sadness, anxiety, or fear may arise. The Buddha taught that because the mind is ever changing, we should not cling to temporary emotions or transient thoughts. Feelings such as greed, anger, and delusion are sources of suffering. If we fail to recognize the impermanence of emotions, we will be easily carried away by them and lose our inner peace. Understanding that emotions are fleeting allows us to remain calm and unshaken, no longer controlled by temporary mental states. Time and impermanence, a deep connection. Recognizing impermanence not only reveals the transient nature of our bodies and minds but also deepens our appreciation for time. Time is the one thing that can never be reclaimed, each moment passes irreversibly. If we fail to cherish time, we are squandering the most valuable resource of our lives. Every passing second is an opportunity that will never return. The Buddha reminded us in the scriptures, time is the most precious asset a person possesses, use it wisely. This teaching reminds us of the finite nature of life, urging us not to live carelessly or waste time on trivial matters. Instead, we should strive to live meaningfully, cultivate love and wisdom, and let go of unnecessary attachments. Cherishing the present moment. When we truly understand that life is impermanent and time is limited, we will no longer live passively, waiting for happiness to arrive or dwelling on regrets of the past. The Buddha always reminded his disciples, live in the present moment, do not let the past and future obscure the light of now. We can only act and make a difference in this very moment. Living in the present does not mean ignoring our responsibilities, rather, it means fully embracing everything around us, cherishing our loved ones, being mindful of our work, and making the most of every opportunity. We learn to love and care for those close to us, ensuring that busyness and worries do not blind us to the important things in life. Time as a medium for practice and awakening. With the realization of impermanence, we see that time is not just something to be spent but a tool for practice and self-improvement. Time should not be used merely for survival but for learning, growing, and progressing on the path of awakening. Every moment is an opportunity to cultivate compassion, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of the world. The Buddha emphasized that time is the most precious element of life and must be used for liberation from suffering and the attainment of true peace. When we learn to value each moment, every second of our lives becomes rich and meaningful. Life, whether long or short, is an unpredictable journey. Time is the only thing we cannot retrieve, and for that reason, we must cherish it deeply. The recognition of impermanence reveals the continuous transformation of all things, from our physical bodies to our inner consciousness. Through this understanding, we come to see that time is not to be wasted on meaningless pursuits but should be spent on cultivating love, wisdom, and meaningful connections. By embracing impermanence and valuing time, we free ourselves from unnecessary attachments and suffering. Instead of fearing change, we learn to flow with life's natural rhythm. Instead of clinging to fleeting moments, we focus on living fully in the present. The greatest lesson of impermanence is that nothing is ever truly ours to hold on to except for the way we choose to live each moment. And when we embrace life with mindfulness and an open heart, we transform every passing second into something truly valuable. May we all awaken to the precious nature of time and live in a way that brings true peace, love, and wisdom. Wise Love in Buddhist Teachings. Dear friends, in this life, one of the most precious gifts we can offer one another is love. Love is an invisible force, yet it has the power to transform lives, bringing happiness and peace to ourselves and those around us. However, the kind of love we often experience in the world does not always lead to peace. Sometimes, it even brings suffering. So how can we ensure that our love is not merely fleeting emotions or momentary compassion but instead a profound, wise love that genuinely benefits others? This is what Buddhism calls metta, or wise love. In today's lecture, we will explore metta through the lens of Buddhist teachings, uncover its depth, and discover how to cultivate this wise love in our daily lives? Wise love in Buddhism. Wise love, or metta, is one of the four immeasurable minds, Brahmavihara, in Buddhism, along with compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha. These are the qualities that the Buddha taught to help us overcome suffering and attain lasting peace and happiness. However, unlike worldly love, which is often mixed with attachment, jealousy, or conditions, metta is an unconditional love, free from discrimination, divisions, or expectations. It is a love that does not seek anything in return, does not require reciprocation or acknowledgement. Wise love is not based on personal preference or attraction but is rooted in a deep sense of care, kindness, and a heart full of wisdom and compassion. It is not a momentary feeling or impulse but a conscious choice reflected in every thought, word, and action. It is not blind love but an enlightened love, one that understands when to give and when to let go. Metta and compassion, karuna. Metta is often mentioned alongside compassion, karuna, in Buddhist teachings, yet there is a clear distinction between the two. Metta is unconditional love, while karuna is the natural response of love toward the suffering of others, accompanied by the desire to relieve that suffering. If metta is pure love, then karuna is the compassionate action that arises from that love. The Buddha taught that when we practice metta, we do not merely wish happiness and peace upon others, we also seek to help them overcome their suffering and struggles. Metta is not just a well-wishing intention but a practical way of living, expressed through real actions that bring benefit to others. Wise love is not just an emotion, it is a method of action guided by wisdom. When we genuinely understand and practice metta, we learn how to share joy and support others without causing harm to ourselves or them. We do not let emotions dictate our actions, but instead, we always aim to bring genuine peace and well-being to all beings. Metta in everyday life. Looking at the reality of our lives, we may find it difficult to practice metta. In a world where relationships are often influenced by greed, anger, and delusion, is it truly possible to maintain a love that is pure and expansive? The truth is that wise love in Buddhism is not an easy practice, but once we understand its essence, we will realize that it is not only possible but essential for living a meaningful life. Wise love is not just about good thoughts or kind words, it must be expressed through concrete actions. Metta is not restricted to our family, friends, or those we know. Instead, metta extends to all beings, without discrimination. This means that one of the key practices of metta is expanding our love beyond personal attachments and including even those who may have hurt us or those we find difficult to love. Practicing metta towards oneself. One of the first steps in practicing metta is learning to love ourselves. We cannot love others truly if we do not know how to care for ourselves. Metta towards oneself means accepting and embracing who we are, including our imperfections and past mistakes. When we love and respect ourselves, we naturally develop greater compassion and understanding for others. Buddhism teaches that each individual has the capacity for awakening and self-improvement. If we can accept ourselves despite our flaws, we will find it easier to extend the same acceptance and love to others, with a heart of patience and understanding. Metta towards others. When practicing metta towards others, it does not mean we must always act in ways that please them. Instead, we must cultivate the sincere wish for their happiness and well-being. Wise love requires us to know when to speak and when to remain silent, when to help and when to step back. Metta is not blind love but a love with wisdom, knowing the right time to act and the right time to allow others to learn and grow on their own. Especially in challenging relationships, when we feel hurt or encounter injustice, practicing metta does not mean passively accepting wrongdoing. Instead, It is an awakened response, a way of understanding the situation clearly and responding with wisdom, protecting ourselves while minimizing harm to others. Metta towards all beings. Metta is not just about human relationships, it extends to all living beings, regardless of species, nationality, or background. This represents a boundless and all-encompassing love, not only for humans but for all creatures in existence. Buddhist teachings emphasize that all beings wish to live and experience happiness, and therefore, metta should be cultivated as a universal quality. Practicing metta towards all beings serves as a reminder not to harbor discrimination, hatred, or prejudice. It encourages us to approach all living things with a sense of kindness and openness, free from social or personal biases. Wise love, metta, in Buddhism is not just a philosophy, it is a way of life. It does not only help us cultivate harmonious relationships, but it also serves as a pathway to inner peace, happiness, and spiritual awakening. When we practice metta with sincerity and consistency, we gradually experience greater tranquility, and our hearts become more open and compassionate. Metta is not a naive or blind love, but a love grounded in wisdom, one that discerns what is beneficial and what should be avoided. This form of love has the power to bring deep peace, not only to ourselves but also to those around us. If we can truly practice metta, not only in times of ease but also during times of difficulty, we will realize that wise love is the key to genuine happiness. We will understand that love is not about possessing, but about offering, not about demanding, but about giving freely. And in this giving, we will find the greatest freedom and peace within ourselves. May we all cultivate metta in our daily lives, bringing peace, kindness, and joy to the world. Letting go and mindfulness in Buddhist teachings. Dear friends, in this life, we inevitably face challenges, conflicts, failures, and moments of suffering. These experiences are an inherent part of existence, no one can escape them. However, how we respond to these difficulties determines the level of peace and serenity we experience in our hearts. How can we avoid being swept away by life's suffering? How can we free ourselves from entanglements, worries, and fears? How can we cultivate a mind that is free, peaceful, and clear? The practice of letting go and mindfulness in Buddhism is the key to liberation from suffering, allowing us to live a life of freedom and true happiness. Today's lecture will help us gain a deeper understanding of letting go and mindfulness, as well as the relationship between these two essential aspects of spiritual practice. We will explore how to cultivate letting go in daily life and develop mindfulness so that we may live freely, unbound by unnecessary attachments. Letting go in Buddhist teachings. Buddhism teaches that letting go is one of the most crucial steps on the path to liberation. Letting go does not mean giving up on everything, nor does it mean withdrawing from life. Rather, it means releasing attachment to impermanent things that, in reality, cannot bring us lasting happiness. Letting go is not an act of weakness or avoidance, instead, it is a profound understanding of the transient nature of the world, a world that is constantly changing, a world subject to the law of impermanence, anicca. The Buddha once taught in the Dhammapada, all conditioned things are impermanent. Recognizing this, one is freed from suffering. This is a powerful reminder that everything in life is temporary: our bodies, our thoughts, our relationships, and even the circumstances we experience. When we deeply realize that nothing lasts forever, we begin to see that clinging to them will only bring suffering. Letting go as freedom from greed, hatred, and delusion. Letting go is not merely about releasing material possessions, it is about freeing the mind from greed, hatred, and delusion. The Buddha taught that these three poisons are the root causes of all suffering. Greed keeps us constantly yearning, never satisfied with what we have. Hatred traps us in anger, resentment, and conflict. Delusion prevents us from seeing reality clearly, causing us to chase after illusions. Letting go in Buddhism is a process of inner liberation, a way to purify the mind from these toxic emotions so that it can become light, clear, and serene. Letting go does not mean we stop caring, nor does it mean we abandon responsibility. Instead, it means we do not let our attachments and emotions control us. When we let go, we no longer allow our false perceptions of ourselves and the world to dictate our happiness. Letting go of attachment to the ego. One of the central aspects of letting go in Buddhism is releasing attachment to the ego, the self-identity that we cling to as if it were an unchanging reality. This ego, or self, is what we mistakenly believe to be the core of our existence. It creates separation between ourselves and others, leading to conflict, suffering, and an endless cycle of craving and aversion. The Buddha taught that the sense of self is an illusion. When we practice letting go of the ego, we begin to experience a profound sense of interconnectedness, a state in which there is no longer a rigid division between me and you, self and other. This does not mean we lose our individuality, but rather that we recognize the impermanent, ever-changing nature of our identity. Once we let go of the illusion of a fixed self, we free ourselves from self-centered emotions such as pride, anger, and resentment. Instead of seeing life as a battlefield of competing desires, we begin to live with a sense of harmony and openness. Mindfulness, seeing reality clearly in the present moment. Mindfulness, sati, is the ability to perceive reality clearly, exactly as it is. In Buddhist teachings, mindfulness is not just about paying attention, it is about deep awareness and insight into the true nature of things. Mindfulness allows us to see beyond illusions, beyond temporary emotions, beyond false narratives that cloud our perception. Mindfulness is not simply about focusing on external events, it is also about observing our own thoughts, emotions, and reactions with clarity and wisdom. When we practice mindfulness, we do not allow emotions such as anger, fear, or greed to take over our minds. Instead, we learn to watch them arise and pass away, without being controlled by them. Mindfulness and right awareness, sampajana. A crucial aspect of mindfulness is right awareness, which means maintaining clarity in every thought, speech, and action. The Buddha taught that only through mindfulness can we truly understand life and free ourselves from suffering. Mindfulness is not just about being present in the moment, it is also about being aware of our own mental habits. When we cultivate mindfulness, we start to recognize patterns of thought and behavior that lead to suffering. Many of these patterns are automatic reactions, deeply ingrained responses that we have developed over time. Mindfulness helps us break free from these automatic reactions so that we can respond to life with wisdom and compassion instead of impulsivity. The relationship between mindfulness and letting go. Mindfulness and letting go are deeply interconnected. We cannot truly let go unless we are mindful. Through mindfulness, we gain the clarity to see what is worth holding onto and what should be released. Mindfulness shows us the suffering caused by attachment, and from that realization, the natural desire to let go arises. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to see the impermanence of everything we cling to: our possessions, our emotions, even our identities. This realization allows us to loosen our grip on things that do not bring lasting happiness. Mindfulness teaches us that freedom does not come from acquiring more but from letting go of what binds us. Letting go and mindfulness, the path to liberation. In Buddhist teachings, letting go and mindfulness are not separate practices, they complement and reinforce each other. Letting go frees us from unnecessary burdens, while mindfulness guides us toward a clear and awakened understanding of reality. Together, they lead us to liberation, the state of being unbound, free from suffering. Mindfulness helps us see that everything, our bodies, our emotions, our circumstances, is impermanent, and this insight allows us to let go naturally. Letting go is not an act of denial or suppression, rather, it is the graceful acceptance of impermanence. To let go is not to abandon life, but to embrace it fully without fear, without grasping, without clinging. It is to trust in the natural flow of existence, to understand that everything arises and passes away. And in that understanding, we find the deepest freedom and peace. Life is a journey filled with change, uncertainty, and impermanence. Time cannot be reversed, and attachments only lead to suffering. The path of letting go and mindfulness is the key to living freely and peacefully. When we practice letting go, we free ourselves from greed, hatred, and delusion. When we cultivate mindfulness, we develop clarity, wisdom, and deep insight. These two practices together open the door to true liberation, a life of serenity, wisdom, and profound peace. May we all learn to let go of unnecessary burdens, live with mindfulness, and embrace each moment with an open and awakened heart. Dear friends, we can see that life is impermanent and fleeting. Our time in this world is limited, and therefore, we must learn to cherish it and use it wisely. Giving love to those who truly deserve it is not just advice about relationships, it is a way of living mindfully, a way of loving wisely, helping us cultivate inner peace and fulfillment. Always remember that love is not just about giving, it is also a choice. Choose relationships that bring happiness, choose people who are worthy of your care, and let go of anything that does not bring peace and joy. May we all live a meaningful life, filled with love and wisdom in every choice we make.